Hello everybody, welcome back. If you're watching this, more than likely you've watched my other videos, you know kind of the gist of it. I think we're going to head tonight, we're going to head south of the border. Now, where the south of the border story is just the flight down. Because really once I got there, nothing really exciting happened other than I got sick. Now, before I proceed in telling this story, it occurred on September the 6th, 2001. So keep in mind, this was literally 5 days before the world changed, or at least how we know it and how air travel works. So bear in mind, that's when the time frame of the story is. 5 days before that infamous day in history. So I got a call. It was at the time, remember, I used to travel with various couple different companies I worked with, and this was a Thursday morning, Thursday noontime. One of our engineers had been working with on the phone doing support with people down in Mexico, and they decided they needed somebody to come down. Well, naturally, being the young guy and the guy that did all the traveling, guess who got nominated to go? Me. So I've never been to Mexico before, and they load me up. The guy that had been doing the phone support, he said, "I'm not exactly sure what the problem is, but it could be any one of these various components, which they do not have any spares with. So we're going to put all this stuff in your suitcase to take with you. Now, whenever you get down to Mexico, you're going to go through security, and the way it works down there, you press a button. If you get a green light, they send you through and they do not check your bag. If you get the red light, they search your luggage." And they said, if they get a red light and they search your luggage and they find that stuff in there, you just tell them it's test equipment. Gotcha. That's all you need to know. And they said, your ride will be waiting on you down there. Not a problem. So I get my stuff packed up. I head to the airport, get on the plane. We fly down to Houston, make my connection, and it's the flight from Houston down to Mexico. So this flight is at the time about half full, where I really had nobody sitting next to me. And we're flying to this down to Monterrey, I believe is where we're headed. I think it's been so long away, really can't remember the city, but I think it was Monterrey. So that's where we're headed, and which is just an hour, 2-hour flight from Houston. So I'm sleeping on the way down. Well, as we get down into Mexico and we're coming in, I feel the plane start to descend, and I wake up and I start looking out the window and I'm seeing nothing. I don't see a city. I see desert floor, and I'm just kind of looking around. I'm looking around at the other people in the plane, and it's kind of bumpy coming in, and I'm starting to get a little nervous because I've never flown out of country before. So we're coming in, and I'm still looking out the window, and I'm still not seeing an airport. I'm not seeing houses. I'm not seeing anything that you typically see in the United States. And we're coming, and I'm like, we're coming in, and then all of a sudden we touch down, and we're sitting there, and it's just not. And usually you have that, wherever you hit it, you have that first few bumps where it comes and where you finally slow down, and then you come to this nice steady drive, and you go, now I'm just like, and then I'm still looking out the window. I cannot see the runway. I can't see any signs other than desert floor. And my first thought is, we've been hijacked. Now, this is why I said the date comes into play, because if you remember what happened on that infamous day in history, it was a bunch of hijacked planes. 5 days earlier, you were still under the mindset that hijackings could take place and you could survive. And I mean, it was just, I'm sitting there looking around, not knowing what's going on, because it's not feeling normal to me. So we hit the ground and we start taxiing, and it's just the plane just sitting there bouncing up and down, and I'm just like, we're not even on a runway, we're going down, and it's just, I'm like, we are literally on the desert floor. There cannot be any blacktop under us. I'm like, I am just freaking out because I have never been to Mexico before. And after about 10 minutes of just bouncing up and back and forth, we finally all of a sudden pull up to this terminal and we get off the plane. Now, okay, 22, 23-year-old me, however old I was in 2001, my mindset is, okay, I just survived a horrible landing, because that should not have felt like that. Like I said, I could have swore this was a hijacking. I was convinced of it. It was not, as you know, ended up not being a hijacking. So anyways, we get to the terminal, I get off the plane, and we proceed to go get our luggage. And then it comes up to the red light, green light, as to where they're going to check your baggage. So I'm sitting there looking, and I'm watching, and I've got two lanes here. This person gets a red light, this person gets a green light. Red, green, red, green. I mean, the pattern's just every other person is getting a red light or a green light. I'm like, okay, I've got this. Okay, the person in front of me just got the red light. Cool. That means I should get the green. The one time it goes two reds in a row, they nail me. Red. Get a red light. So they go through my luggage, and I've got all this, spare parts coming down from that they had sent me down with from the office. And so the guy sat there, he opens up and he starts looking at it, and he said, "So what's all this stuff?" And I said, "Well, it's test equipment." He looked at it and looked at me and said, "Those look like spare parts." And I'm like, I am realizing this guy is not stupid. He's got some sort of intelligence to him. So I'm like, yeah, they're spare parts. And I kind of explained why I was down there, what I was doing. I said, okay. And then he starts mumbling something in Spanish that I can't hear, and I don't know what to do. So I finally look up, and there's this guy holding a sign with my name on it. I said, "Sir, that guy right there is my ride. I can't understand much of what's going on, but he needs to know." So he's like, okay. So he motioned the guy over. The guy come over. I introduced him. Okay, yeah, you're my ride. I'm the guy you're waiting on. Help. What's going on? So next thing I know, they haul me into the customs area. So we're sitting there. I'm in the customs office. This guy that's my ride, he's the maintenance manager. Find out he's the maintenance manager at the plant I'm going to, and the air marshal or whatever he is, their office. They're sitting there. They're going back and forth in Spanish, and then he keeps looking over me and go, "No problem." I'm like, okay. And this goes on 10, 15 minutes, and I have no clue what's going on, but he keeps telling me, "No problem, no problem." And finally, they said, "Okay, you're free to go." Cool. So I stand up, I go to grab my bag, and they said, "Oh no, you cannot take your bag." And I'm like, "What?" It's got all my tools, all my clothes, not to mention my test equipment or spare parts, whatever you want to call it. And they said, "No, you owe us money for those spare parts." And I look at him, I look at the guy, and I said, "No problem, the plant will pay for it. But that has to stay here until they write a check." All right. So here it is. We've already been in the airport probably an hour, 2 hours longer than need be, because I got sent down with all these test equipment, spare parts. So anyways, hauls me off to the plant. They walk me out to the machine and say, "Here's the problem." First thing I go do, I pull a connector off, got a wire loose, tighten it up, put it back on, the machine runs. They've been down for 2 days for a loose wire. My luggage is still stuck at the airport, and I cannot leave. It's finally about another hour before my luggage finally shows up where the plant had paid all this, money for it. And so, but I'm done. I don't need all that stuff I got sent down with. So they looked at me and I said, look, all that stuff in my bag that is spare parts, those belong to you now, because they are not coming back to the United States with me. The life of a service rep. I tell you what, a little bit lengthy story. Did it happen? Did it not? You be the judge. We'll talk to you later.